Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be a November wrap-up in which I'll be talking about all the 8 books that I finished this month and also the books that I did not finish this month. I DNF'd a couple, and I will be talking about the first and only physical copy, and that's Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is the first book I finished this month, and it's also a reread. I have made an entire reading vlog on this one that I will be linking in which I talked about all my thoughts in depth. I gave this one, the first time I read it, it's 4 stars, and this one, it's one of my all-time favorite books. If you don't know what this book is about, I don't think you should know anything about it before you start it, because part of the enjoyment is not knowing what's going on. So this book starts off with Kathy, who is the narrator. She is a carer, and she's saying that it's her last year being a carer, and then she's going to become something else. And then she goes back and talks about her time in Hailsham, because Hailsham is this prestigious academy for people like her, and it was like one of the best ones out there in her time. The friendships that they make and why they're studying in Hailsham and what they do there. Why is she caring? Who is she caring for? Is such a beautiful story, very heartbreaking, because you know what's going to happen in the end. When I first saw this book, I mentioned that in my reading vlog. I thought that the reveal happens in the end, but it actually happens on page 80, so you know what's happening very early on. So this is not about knowing what's going to happen, but going through the emotions that the characters are going through and feeling everything that they're feeling, and also like thinking about what it really means to be human. And it's a 5-star. It's one of my all-time favorite books. The next book I finished this month is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I had really high hopes for this one. I thought, for some reason, the title made me think that this is about ghosts, and I was wrong. There are no ghosts in this story. This book is plotless book. I think we're following like two sisters and their uncle. Apparently, their family died. Someone killed them. We don't know who. Like they're saying that it's the older sister, but we're not really sure. And then they are basically hiding from their village. They don't want to be seen by them, and then people are acting weird, and I don't know, it was very atmospheric, I give it that, but everything else just felt like completely, I don't understand what was the point of this book, to be honest. I gave it 2 stars. The writing was pretty, the atmosphere was there, but nothing else was there. There was no substance, and I know this is a really beloved book, but I really don't see what people see in this book. I don't get it. The next book I finished is a book from the Around the World book club, and that's the Palace of Dreams by Ismail Kadar. This is the pick for Albania. I have a lot of books from this author on my TBR, and this book made me more excited to pick them up because I love this book. This one was very readable. It was very fast paced. It's about our main character, Mark Allen, who gets accepted into this prestigious job, which is like in the Palace of Dreams, as the title says, and we're seeing him like progress from the interpretation is the last section in the hierarchy, and there are basically, this Palace of Dreams has a lot of hierarchies. Like people go from steps to steps to steps until you go to the top. The entire purpose of this Palace of Dreams is finding the master dream, which is a dream that basically says something about the state. It was a very interesting topic because this is set in the totalitarian regime, and you see how these dreams are basically taken, and you see basically everything. The book doesn't give you all the answers, but it's very enjoyable, and I really enjoyed it. It gave me like the kind of like 1984 vibes, and I really enjoyed this book. I don't think I've explained it very well, but it's really good. And I have 2 other books, I think, from this author on my TBR. I have a Dictator Cult, I think it's about Stalin or something, a retelling of Stalin. Not retelling, but like inspired by Stalin, I think. I'm not sure. And I have another one that I forgot the title of, and I'm really looking forward to reading those ones, because the writing of this author is just incredible, and he has written so many books that I can't wait to get to. The next book I finished is Star of Villain by John Scalzi. This was so fun. The thing that made me pick this book is the cat on the cover. It's like a very catching cover for me. This book is about a man who inherits a supervillain business from his uncle who he hasn't seen since he was 5 years old, and he doesn't know what the supervillain business is. He obviously thinks of it as like what we think of it, like what we see in the movies and stuff, but it's completely different than that. There are cats involved. Our main character has 2 cats by himself, and I think the cats made this book so much better. It's really fun, like so many crazy things were happening. I'd give this one, I think, 5 stars, because I could not give it any less than 5 stars, especially after the ending. The scene with the cats was so beautiful, and I just couldn't give it anything less than 5 stars. The next book I did not actually finish, but I DNF'd it. I've already talked about it in a reading vlog that I've done, the non-fiction reading vlog, and that is Barbie and Ruth. I think this one is not the fault of the book. It's completely my fault, because this is obviously a biography, so it tells you the story of Ruth, the founder of Mattel and the founder of Barbie, the entire story of her life. But in my opinion, I would just wanted to know how she founded Mattel and how she founded Barbie. That's all I was interested in. I wasn't interested in her relationships or anything else. That's all I wanted to know. So when we got into those sort of things, I was just completely bored, and I didn't care enough to continue, so I DNF'd that one. The next book I finished is also a book that I really loved. It's also non-fiction. It's Factfulness by Hans Rosling. I talked about this one in depth in another video that I will be linking as well. But just out of the gist of it, this tells you the state of the world in data, because we all have this idea that the world is getting worse and there's no hope for the future. But this book gives you the actual data on how many improvements we have made in the world, how the world is actually getting better, and just how we can say that the world is bad, but it's also getting better. It's not exclusive. It's not. We can't say either or. They can be both at the same time. And I really love the message of this book and how hopeful it is, because I definitely needed a hopeful book this month. The next book I finished, not really book. It's called, I think it's novella. It's First Love by Ivan Turgenev. This one starts off with 3 friends talking about their first love, and they ask one of the guys to talk about his first love, and he talks about a story when he was 16 and he fell in love with a princess. She was 21 years old, and we're seeing his infatuation or obsession with her, and slowly we see the love affair unravel of some other characters in this story, and it's very well written and it's beautiful, and it captured my attention. Even though it was so short, it didn't feel short. It felt like a complete story, because oftentimes when I read like a short story or a novella that is a romance, it feels like it's not enough. It doesn't make me emotionally invested in the characters, but this one I have definitely felt emotionally invested in characters, even though it's only 124 pages. It's quite short. You can read it very easy, like in one day, which like I did, and I highly enjoyed this one. The next book I finished is Dowry of Blood. I had very high expectations for this book. I've been saving it for years at this point, because I wanted the right time to read this book, because I knew I was going to love it and it was going to be a new favorite book. That unfortunately did not happen, because I was disappointed. It's a Dracula retelling based from the point of view of his wives, so I was excited for that. This story starts with his wife Constanza killing Dracula, even though he was never named in the book, and she basically tells it as like a love letter to him, even though he's dead. She's saying like, I wasn't planning on killing you throughout this time, but I had to. And then she goes from the very first time he found her and he sired her, and then she became his wife, and they've been living together. But the story just felt like, the writing was beautiful. It was very atmospheric, but there was no substance. As I said, the story begins with her killing him, and then she goes back in time, and then she talks about the first time he sired her, and then she fell in love with him. She became his wife, not officially, but he calls her his wife. And then many years, I don't know how many years happened, and then he tells her that they are going to be joining another person in their couple, and that is they joined Magdalena, and she becomes so infatuated with her. So basically they form this 3-way relationship. They stay like that for many years as well, until Magdalena becomes bored and she doesn't really feel any like spark for life, and then they think about what can we do to make her happy. So they go to Russia and they meet this guy, a 19-year-old boy called Alexei. They join him to their throuple at this point, and they all just become 4 people in a relationship, just 4 people in a relationship. And then what irked me about this book, what really bothered me, is that he would, for example, talk to Constanza and tell her, where are your siblings? Basically insinuating that they're all siblings and he's like their dad, but at the same time they all have sex together. And also Constanza and Alexei, she says that they have this mother-son relationship, but she also has sex with him, and it just felt so, it just felt so strange and uncomfortable. I don't know, I just don't see what people like in this book, other than it was a very atmospheric and very readable, because I really enjoyed it as well. But also I feel like the ending was just anticlimactic. Like, yes, they've been like in this, he basically locked them in this place after what Alexei did, and he goes out to hunt for them and then brings them food, which is blood. And one day they decide, like, we don't want to live our lives. They figured out that he killed his previous wives, or whatever they called, and they get worried, like, what if he gets spoiled with us and kills us as well? So they decide to kill him first, and then it just was anticlimactic. Like, they just Magdalena and Alexei hold him, and Constanza kills him, and that was it. That was the end of the story. And then each one of them goes their separate ways in the world. Like, one of them goes to university, one of them goes to the US to go to do theater, and Constanza just wanted to go back to Romania. And it just felt really anticlimactic. Like, we're all building up to this something, and we're waiting why the murder is happening, and we're just like, well, he will kill us, and so we might as well kill him before he does. And it just felt like, just not very good. I gave this one 2 stars. I was debating giving it 3 stars, but I just felt like, because I was thinking about all the things that I did not like, and I just felt like I had to give it 2 stars, and that was very disappointing, because I was really looking forward to this one. The next book I finished is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I have not read that many, or any, I think, thrillers this year, so I picked this one up, not really having that high expectations because of the disappointment that I've just had before that. But I was very pleasantly surprised, because this was so good. We're following 6 friends. They're all in college in North Carolina. They're all living in the same dorm. They're all really messed up. They all have mental problems. If they were normal, we wouldn't have this book. So we know that the book starts with our main character, what's her name, Jess, talking to Jack, who was the main suspect of this murder that happened 10 years ago in their university. She's talking to him, and there's this homecoming. He's obviously not invited because he was the main suspect in this murder, and he tells her to go and tell me, like, what the mutual friends have done since they graduate college. She goes in there, and we're seeing one timeline is the party, the homecoming party, and one timeline is the 10 years ago. Not really 10 years ago, but their time in college, from the first time they met in freshman year to their senior year, and how their friendship progressed, their drama between them and everything. This book was so dramatic, and I really loved the relationships, the messy relationships between them. I don't usually like those kind of messy relationships, but in this book it was so fun. It was really readable. I could not put this book down. I wanted to know what happened. I couldn't see the person who killed that person, I could not see how that person would do it, because in my mind there was this trope of our main character not remembering anything that happened the night of the murder. And I thought I thought this was going to be a case of lazy writing, of, well, she didn't remember, and now in the end she's going to remember, and she's going to be the killer. But no, that was not the case. I think that was a little spoiler, but I think, you know, it was not lazy writing. The person who did it was completely unexpected for me. That was the last person I expected for them to do it. And in the end, also after the reveal, something else has been revealed in the end that was also unexpected. And, you know, it was just very thrilling, very fast paced, which is what I needed at the time. So I highly recommend this one if you need like a murder mystery of not knowing who's going to do it, with messy characters, all of them are having secrets. You don't, none of them are very truthful. All of them have some sort of secret. Some of them are really bad, some of them are really not as bad, but just all of them are messed up. All of them may need therapy, and I highly enjoy this book. So these are all the 9 books that I finished and DNF throughout this month. I'm currently not reading anything. I'm deciding whether I want to pick up Perfume by Patrick Suskind, or We by Yevgeny Zamyatin, or maybe even The 7-Year Slip. I cannot decide what I want right now, so I'm not currently reading anything. So I will start something whenever I do, and you will see me talk about it whenever in the December wrap up. So these are all the books that I finished. You let me know if you have read any of these and what you thought of them, and as always, I will see you in another video very soon. Goodbye.